I've met some of you yesterday. I'm a design lead at Headspace. My journey through design has been a long one. I grew up in India. I was a furniture designer back in the day, then slowly transitioned to UX and service design. I worked in design consulting for a while and social impact design consulting. I was doing a lot of work in mental health and was really drawn to this topic, found it to be so foundational to so many of our societal problems. So really sought Headspace as a place that I wanted to work at because I felt so strongly about it. And at Headspace, I'm a design lead, so I partner with the product managers a lot, so shaping the product strategy, but then I also do design. And some of what I've been working on over the last 4 years that I've been there, building health interventions, so helping people stress less, sleep more, and so much more. And recently have been working on a tool that uses generative AI. So I'm going to share a little bit of the sort of human side of building AI experiences, what it means to be a designer working on these initiatives. And yeah, so I'm going to focus on some of the insights that drove our approach and help us make decisions along the way, and then leave you with a few takeaways that you can apply to your AI initiative if you want to work on one. For those of you who haven't heard of Headspace or seen this dot before, we are meditation. Our roots are in mindfulness and meditation, but ever since have grown to become much more. So we offer coaching, therapy, psychiatry services, along with digital content, all to support someone's mental health journey. And this, as Michael mentioned, this is our first member-facing AI experience. Being a mission-driven company, that we're a healthcare company, you can imagine how using AI within the mental health context can make so many people uncomfortable. There were a lot of strong feelings about this. People, on one hand, very excited about Gen AI and how it could scale mental health tools to people of the world. And on the other hand, a lot of skepticism and nervousness about how AI could be detrimental to someone's mental health because, yeah, mental health is inherently vulnerable, right? This sort of sentiment was also present in our members. So we did a large-scale study on assessing the desirability and attitudes towards AI. And within the context of mental health, there was a high degree of trust in Headspace, but also a lot of skepticism around using AI in mental health. One interesting insight, with a lot of AI features, actually interacting is believing. So once you use it, people trust it more. And this is seen specifically with ChatGPT. People who used it had more positive attitudes towards it. Basically, we had to encourage people to just try the experience, right? So it all came down to what can we do as designers to help our members feel safe about interacting with AI. And then, as I mentioned, we are a mental health company, very passionate, mission-driven folks. And people really, all of us just really wanted to keep our members safe from any unintended consequences from AI. It really started off with finding a focused and valuable use case that balanced all of these factors. So this might seem a little familiar to what Nicole shared yesterday, like the desirability, viability, and feasibility matrix. Ours has a few additions. So firstly, it had to be something that people really wanted, right? And should help them in their lives. Through a lot of generative research that we've done with DScout over the years, one of the things that kept coming up is how people have a reflection practice outside of Headspace. So that's a capability that our app did not support. Through clinical best practices, we know that reflection can be hugely beneficial and supportive in one's mental health. It gives one clarity, it gives you a sense of self-efficacy. It can really empower people to take more agency in their own journey and just is beneficial for one's well-being. We had to also consider the needs of our ecosystem as a whole. In our ecosystem, as I mentioned, we also have human care providers. So how does reflection support a member's experience with their care provider? So it turns out reflection is actually very supportive and complementary to like seeing a human provider. So this sort of focused use case around reflection became a safe container in the larger context of mental health for us to really use the power of generative AI and specifically conversational AI to understand someone's unique context and need and really respond to them. We built basically a guided reflection experience that uses conversational AI, which brings me to Ebb. So Ebb is your compassionate companion. It creates a safe space for you. You can express yourself. It asks you like open-ended, deep, reflective questions with the sole purpose of helping you be more self-aware. and it offers non-judgmental support along the way. So great. We have a solid use case. People would likely gain benefits from it. But we had to address people's barriers around not feeling safe engaging with AI. So this is where, through the upfront experience and research that we had done, we realized that Ebb is built by clinical experts. And the more we elevate that early in the experience, that increases feelings of trust for people. People were concerned about their privacy. So this one was a delicate one. It's like, how much do you talk about data and privacy upfront? Because you also don't want to overwhelm people, right? So we had to strike a right balance. Like, it had to still be like human and like layman language in terms of like how the data is handled, and providing deep dives where possible if people want to go deeper. We also took the opportunity of this like upfront experience to actually frame expectation and influence how people would engage with the AI in a safe way. Again, doubling down on the sort of core purpose of this experience, which is to reflect. And we did also highlight the limitations, that this should not be seen as a replacement for human care. So really trying to also influence people's sort of actions and behaviors with AI itself. Okay, I am so glad Kevin did the deep dive on like the conversational model, because it is still such a mystery to me. But what I want to emphasize here is that we took a pretty iterative process where research had a big role to play. And huge shout out to Collab last year and folks from Duolingo who helped us shape this approach. We did like that upfront desirability and attitudinal study on AI and reflection. We did diary studies combined with voice flow prototyping, and then in-house like extensive testing. I think it's indicative in how Kevin talked about it. Like, we've done so many robust tests internally. So those are the sort of moments where research informed how our conversation designers and mental health experts shaped the model to refine the structure, cadence, how do you respond to specific topics, how expressive should Ebb be, like how do you shape the voice and tone to be supportive and safe for members to reflect with. And then the designers on the team also had the easy task of shaping some of the supportive experience, right? Think about the conversational interface, so like the actual mechanics by which you reflect with Ebb, and also to shape the identity of Ebb. So we did, the diary study plus the usability and naming test informed both of those components. So how did this all come together in the experience? So coming back to the sort of notion of safety, one of the ways we actually helped members feel safe within the experience was to elevate their choice, control, and autonomy. Members have the option, and when I say members, I'm talking about our users, just saying. Members have the option to reflect either through processing thoughts and emotions, and that's inherently, it's more open-ended, more conversational, so people could get really deep and expressive. With Ebb guides them gently or asks you deeper reflective questions to go basically very deep with your thoughts. And on the other side, you have finding gratitude. So this is more close-ended and less conversational. So giving people the chance to, and this side of the spectrum is more list-based or like a button-based experience. So you don't really have to write like walls of text to still reflect on something. So really giving people the choice to be as open and expressive and vulnerable as they would like to be. Speaking of openness, so within the conversational experience, we all probably can recall a reflective experience. You need openness, you need calm, you need the space to reflect and express yourself. So we had to create that feeling, but then also give people clear boundaries, right? So boundaries to keep them safe, giving people the chance to end or delete a conversation anytime, because things could get sensitive, right? Ebb never offers you advice as a coach or a therapist, like a coach or a therapist would do, and really waits for your signal if you ever even want suggestions with activities from our content library. And Ebb, powered by safety detection mechanisms, it's constantly sensing if your needs are escalated in any way. It will like gently guide you to crisis resources or a provider. Last but not the least, I think shaping the persona and the feeling of Ebb was important to create that feeling of sense and safety. So we married psychology best practices and brand guidelines to the persona, voice, and approach of Ebb, how it communicates with you, and also shaped its visual presence or and it's gentle and hopeful and compassionate. Lots of power here for design to actually create a certain feeling with AI. Ebb is currently in pilot. We are, of course, learning a ton. One of the key questions was, is it actually performing its intended purpose? Short answer is yes. People reflecting on a wide range of topics, and it's actually quite humbling to actually see the range of topics that Ebb is able to support. People are saying they feel validated, they feel seen. They are calling out like some of the humanistic abilities of Ebb, that it's kind, intelligent, sometimes funny, and sometimes wished more people in their lives would be that way. So overall positive. We're also seeing a lot of repeat engagement, which could be a signal of increased trust and value in the future. And then one thing that we were pretty nervous about is that because the views around AI within mental health can be so polarizing, if we were seeing any dip in our subscriptions or like engagement or retention metrics, and even there we haven't really seen any negative impact. That's the business case. And yeah, there's so much to learn here. I'm personally curious about how much, say, the novelty factor of AI comes in and we do see some dip in engagement over time. Or on the other hand, as Ebb continues to be a part of people's lives, how does it actually help people reflect more deeply and form deeper connections? So lots more to learn here, and I'm glad that Kevin is going to talk about measurement and ongoing monitoring of these experiences, because there's so much here. And I'm going to leave you all with a few takeaways. You'll see some common themes from yesterday. As I mentioned, like when it comes to attitudes towards AI, in some way, AI is full mainstream. It's pervasive. Everybody is using it in some ways, right? But when it comes to looking at, people have like very varying opinions when it comes to the context. So on one hand, like somebody could be like okay with like calendars being optimized by your AI, right? But on the other hand, like sharing intimate thoughts with AI, like that could make someone really uncomfortable. So I would say take the time to understand the attitudes towards AI, both for your users and also your stakeholders, and really use that learning to shape the process and the approach. And this is where I feel like there is opportunity to shape the process to win the skeptics. So some of the things that we did actually align with Meg's recommendations yesterday. We used to report back learnings and we used to drop them in our Slack channels. So there used to be like little member anecdotes or learnings that we were gathering from the field, and just giving people a sense that we are adopting a thoughtful approach and we are being very mindful about how we are building these experiences. One key process that I think really helped people shift perspectives about AI and Ebb was to actually use it. So as we started building like voice flow prototypes, our conversation designers and our product managers started to share these with like key stakeholders so that they really get to see how we are building it and really feel it. And we also did large-scale testing through internal red teaming. So inviting essentially all employees in the organization to use it, test the vulnerabilities, help us make this better. So that really helped with winning some of the skeptics in the organization. And believe me, you need the support to build this and build this ethically and do it. The last one is a super important one. With this audience, I don't think I have to sell this to you, that it is so important to consider the experiences of underrepresented communities, like right from inception of these experiences. And research, of course, can help you set the right foundation. But as you start to prototype some of these experiences, and especially conversational experiences, the inherent unpredictability of how AI is going to respond does actually reveal some risk for the people who will use it. So you have to be conscious about how you test these. And for us, a safe way to test them was to actually partner with our identity and experience-focused internal employee resource groups who brought in this identity perspective and minority perspective and like shaping and strengthening the models and the experiences themselves. So with that, I'm gonna do my own reflection, end it there. I recently became a parent, and almost often, like whenever people tell me it takes a village to raise a kid. And I think it takes a village to actually build a product that people want to use, it's ethically sound. You need that organizational support, and I've had that with my amazing teammates across product, eng, brand, design, and so many more. So I'm just immensely grateful to have had these people like alongside. And then also immensely grateful for all of you for this safe and supportive space for me to share my perspective. And thank you, Michael and Julie, for this opportunity.